Welcome back to Bankruptcy with Ben, everybody. And there's been a lot of breaking news in the bankruptcy world. We've had Rite Aid file for bankruptcy, and we covered that earlier. And we've had Weight Watchers file for bankruptcy, another company that we've covered on this channel as well. I've been getting a lot of requests to break down those bankruptcies. Those are going to be a little bit more in depth, and there is going to be a video dropping shortly covering both those topics. But there's a lingering news story that I wanted to just hit on and share my thoughts on with everybody before we get into some of the juicier topics. And that is crypto. Everyone knows President Trump campaigned on loosening the crypto regulations. Trump took the view that the previous administration had improperly regulated crypto. That's part of why Gary Gensler resigned, is the SEC was taking very, very restrictive stances on crypto. And for better or for worse, whatever you think of the merits of it, Trump pledged to loosen up crypto. And it looks like he's actually fulfilling that aspect of his campaign pledge. And I want to share everybody a memo. It was an internal DOJ memo that was sent out to DOJ employees, and it discusses the new administration's stance on crypto, and it kind of reinforces that promise from Trump to loosen up the crypto. So let's take a look. Okay, U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Deputy Attorney General, dated April 7th, 2025. Memorandum for all department employees from the Deputy Attorney General. Subject, right off the bat, ending regulation by prosecution. It's, again, it seems to be the DOJ's way of saying we're going to be taking a big step back in this regulation process, and we're going to work to deregulate the crypto world. So the memo starts off with a little bit of background. The digital assets industry is critical to the nation's economic development and innovation. And therefore, the implication being, since the digital asset world is so critical, we need to let it play out and not strangle it. Thus, as noted in Executive Order 14178, clarity and certainty regarding enforcement policy are essential to what? Supporting a vibrant and inclusive digital economy and innovation in digital assets. Now, those terms sound very, very nice. I think even the Biden administration would agree that we want a vibrant and inclusive digital economy, and we want innovation in digital assets. The disagreement is, how do you get there? So this is just a little bit of fluff. But here's the important point. President Trump has also made clear that we are going to end the regulatory weaponization against digital assets. So they're saying that it's not simply regulations, but you're weaponizing the regulations and you're making it into something where people can get in serious, serious trouble for violating a simple regulation. The Department of Justice is not a digital assets regulator. And this is the important point, is the DOJ, the SEC does do regulations. The SEC also does have certain criminal capabilities, but the DOJ is the one responsible for the nation's law enforcement. So once the DOJ is involved, you're talking, generally speaking, criminal implications. And this memo is saying we're no longer going to take regulatory matters and criminalize them into something where the DOJ now prosecutes. The DOJ is not in charge of regulating digital assets. What does the DOJ do? We enforce the law, and we only get involved if there's a real criminal activity. And that's exactly what this memo goes on to say. Rather, consistent with President Trump's directives, the DOJ prosecution involving digital assets So who is the DOJ going to prosecute criminally for issues involving digital assets? Those who use it in furtherance of criminal offenses such as terrorism, narcotics, human trafficking, organized crime, hacking, cartel, and gang financing. So obviously, I think everyone agrees that those are all worthwhile things to prosecute. I don't think even the Biden administration would say that those are things we should ignore. I think the Trump policy that he's trying to set is that these are the real issues. We need to focus on those things, and regulatory matters will leave to the regulators. We're not going to get involved from a criminal perspective. A couple more interesting points before we wrap up. Pursuant to the total elimination policy set forth in Executive Order 14157, entitled Designating Cartels and Other Organizations as Foreign Terrorist Organizations and Specially Designated Global Terrorists, blah, 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 blah. The DOJ will prioritize cases involving use of digital assets in furtherance of unlawful conduct by cartels, criminal organizations, terrorists, and specially designated global terrorists. Again, we're going to prosecute the bad guys, not just some, regulatory violation. The same is true of fentanyl production. Increasingly dangerous precursors purchased from China and used in the production of fentanyl in Central and South America are often paid for using digital assets. So people are paying for drugs using digital assets. So that's another way that we're going to get involved. We want to stop fentanyl production and other dangerous narcotics from going out to society. Furthermore, terrorist groups such as Hamas and ISIS and nation-states subject to U.S. sanctions like North Korea, they also continue to transact using digital assets in an attempt to conceal their financing from law enforcement. So again, it's the same concept. We're going after terrorists and governments that harbor terrorists. And if they're going to use digital assets to conceal their financing, we're going to go after them too. And ongoing investigations that are inconsistent with the foregoing should be closed. So unless it's an investigation relating to one of the specifically enumerated categories we discussed earlier, such as narcotics, human trafficking, terrorism, etc., done. DOJ is no longer getting involved. It's not going to be criminal. Go on your merry way. Prosecutors should not charge regulatory violations in cases involving digital assets, including violations of unregistered securities, offering violations, unregistered broker-dealer violations, and other violations of registration requirements under the Commodities Exchange Act. Meaning all these kind of technical regulatory violations, unless there's evidence that the defendant knew of the licensing or registration requirement at issue and they violated it willfully, meaning they intentionally violated it. It wasn't just some instance where it was some arcane regulation that they didn't know of, and now boom, they're getting hammered with criminal prosecution. If they knew about it and they violated it, okay, we'll go after you. Otherwise, DOJ, leave them alone. The memo goes on, compensating victims in the digital asset space. Following the prolonged period of price decline in the digital assets market in 2022, multiple companies with custody of investors' digital assets collapsed and entered bankruptcy, meaning there was a large spike in bankruptcies filed by digital asset companies such as FTX, Wager Digital, Celsius, BlockFi, Gemini, and on and on and on. Shifting resources relating to digital assets. Again, this is the big thing. Close this all up. Wrap it up in one nice bow. to conclude, the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team shall be disbanded effective immediately. Boom. I think if that doesn't tell you where the Trump administration is going with all this, what direction the Trump administration wants to take with crypto, I don't think there's anything else that could be more clear. He's disbanding this unit that was meant to investigate and prosecute what Trump is calling these kind of technical violations. So it's another interesting point. It's interesting how this is going to play out, what cases will be dropped, what cases will move forward, how is this going to relate to the financial world as a whole. Stay tuned. There will be more stories regarding all this, and so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And until on our next one.